Are we ready for this? $5,013. You have all been so generous. Thank you so much for this. We got to keep those donations going though, because we are still, I'm trying to match that, meet that shortfall. So if you have the ability to give, please do. Okay, now I want to introduce Emily Churchill again. She is our communications coordinator, and she is going to be our host for the next hour, so I can get a break and stretch my legs. Emily, I'm going to let you introduce our next guest.
All right. Hello, everyone. It is good to be here. Hello to everyone. Hello again to everyone who saw me a few hours ago. As Liz said, my name's Emily. I'm HGA's communications coordinator, and I'm really happy to be here today for our first ever Fiber-A-Thon. So, for those of you who are just tuning in now, welcome. I am so excited to welcome our first presenter of the hour, Rebecca L. Smith, who is going to present on a San Diego Creative Weavers Guild exhibition. Rebecca, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm going to set this up for my screen share.
Rebecca, we're not able to see you.
Excuse me?
Your camera is on, but we don't see you. Is there a cover on your camera?
How's
there
that?
You go. That works.
Okay.
Perfect.
New computer, I'm not used to it yet. That's my excuse. Okay, I'm setting up a slideshow here. All right, are you seeing my screen?
Perfect, Rebecca. Thank you so much.
Let me get this out of here. Okay, so I am talking about, set my timer so I don't go over, an exhibit of the San Diego Creative Weavers Guild that we held last year at a museum, a gallery just north of San Diego in a community called Escondido. They have a gallery there called the Escondido Arts Partnership. And each year at the Escondido Arts Partnership, they hold a West Coast fiber arts exhibit. It's a juried exhibit that draws artists from all around the region. But a few years ago, when our guild was turning 75 years old, we decided that we would use some of the space in the gallery. They have the front of the gallery is the big open space where they hold the West Coast Fiber Show. And then behind that, there are two smaller gallery spaces, and those are available for other people to exhibit during the run of the Fiber Show. So we, as a guild, took one of those spaces and held our 75th anniversary show. And then after that, we decided, well, this would be a great idea for an annual show. So we do it every year now. And it's great because the gallery is drawing in the audience for us. So we don't really have to do much advertising to get an audience of fiber art lovers into the gallery. So this year, or last year's 2024, we titled our exhibit Creative Weaving and More. And the more refers to the fact that we have a lot more on exhibit here than weaving. We have about 150 members in our guild. Typically about 30 of them submit work to the exhibit, and we accept almost everything because it's almost all a very high quality that we consider worthy of exhibit. Not everything is offered for sale. Most of our members just want to, they're creating work for themselves or for gifts to share with family and friends. So we don't require that the work be for sale, but it can be for sale. One of our purposes is to make this educational. And so on the wall, and also with a couple of laminated copies, we had a list of a glossary of techniques that were represented in the sale, in the exhibit. So people could walk around with the laminated copy, and these words were highlighted in red on the wall tags if they were one of the pieces that was done in one of these techniques. So going into the first room here, and you can see right here, that's our glossary of techniques posted on the wall. So we had two rooms this year, and that was a fluke because just a couple of weeks before the exhibit, the group that had reserved the other space backed out and the gallery didn't want to have an empty space, so they offered it to us. So just 2 weeks before the show, we had double the space we anticipated. But that was actually a benefit because it allowed us to really spread things out and make it look very, very artistic. So this is walking into the first room. And on the wall here, we've got work by one of our members who works with wet felting, and she does beautiful garments and does some echo printing on the wet felting. Also on this wall, we've got some hand dyed, I think it's tinsel scarves. And I wanted to point out how we exhibited our scarves in the exhibit on the wall rather than on racks, because this really highlighted that these are works of art, even though they're going to be worn in their final use. But it really made for a dramatic presentation of the scarves. Then on the back wall, as you entered this room, it's really pretty dramatic. We had these 3 weavings done by one of our members, and even though the technique is just plain weave, the way that they're executed with the colors matching, they're very dramatic, and so we thought that was a really dramatic way to welcome people into that first room. This is another piece of the wet felting work. Then stepping back in that room to see what's on the other wall, this was our naturals wall. We grouped several of the natural pieces together, and I'll show you some of those in detail. This one in the corner, this is one of my pieces that was in the show. It's woven with a wave beater, which is a stick that has a scalloped edge on it, so that when you beat in the yarn, you get these beautiful wave patterns. And I used all sorts of different materials in this, different kinds of yarn, on a very widely spaced warp, so that it was, completely see-through. You can see on the wall back here a little bit of the shadow behind the piece to see how see-through it was. And then this is another piece that I did with a fan reed technique called ondulé, which allows the warps, they move back and forth in the reed as you weave, just by manipulating the position of the reed. And it gives you these wonderful open spaces. You can see the shadows here as well. This is a piece that we awarded the HGA award to. It's a piece of, it's a Swedish weaving style. And our member who received this award, this was her first piece that she wove in this ohenta style, which is from Sweden. It wasn't an original design for her. She had found the design in an old magazine, old Swedish weaving magazine. She had adjusted her loom, altered her loom so that she could weave it as a draw loom. And then she wove the piece and executed it beautifully. And she didn't stop there, though. Then she arranged to go to Sweden during the summer to study Swedish weaves, and she met the woman who had originated the pattern. So we thought, well, this is well worthy of an award, because it's not just a woven piece, it's a whole woven experience that she created. So we were happy to give that award to Virginia Parks, is her name. Then over on this wall, we had a few small tapestries. I think I have a bigger picture of these tapestries. I want to go back, though, before I do, and point out this beautiful shawl here. This is a hand-knitted shawl of hand-spun wool, and it's just exquisite. And we were lucky to have several mannequins available for the exhibit to really show off these pieces, so they didn't have to hang on the wall when they're meant to be 3-dimensional. And then going back to these tapestries, a few of these, this one here and these 2 over here, are woven in the Frida Hansen technique. We had Robbie LaFleur come during the year and teach a workshop on weaving the Frida Hansen open warp tapestry technique. And so these were some of the pieces that were woven after that workshop. This is going into the second room, the one we didn't expect to have, but we were happy to have it. We can see here on the walls, we have a basketry artist among our members, and she uses a lot of natural materials. So this piece here on the, and a lot of found materials. I'm not sure what this metal piece is from, but it works well with the stones and the chains. And then this is another of her pieces woven out of some kind of natural materials. I'm not a basket weaver, so I can't tell you what the materials are. And then going into this room, stepping back to see this wall, we had several pieces. These are a couple of my works again, transparencies, and these are some scarves, again, hanging on the wall to show how dramatic they can look. Looking from the side, I just wanted to show this view of the, you can see again the shadows behind my transparency weavings. Over here, another of the felted vests from our weaver who does the wet felting. And over here we have a scarf that's done in deflected double weave on an ice-dyed warp. And again, that's from a workshop. We had Natalie Drummond come and teach ice dyeing and deflected double weave. So we had several people who took that workshop and had pieces in the exhibit using those techniques. And then moving to this wall, we've got some tapestries here. And I've said here on the side of rep weave, these placemats are done in a beautiful rep weave pattern. I think I have a slide showing the tapestries closer up. This member had traveled and used some of her experiences on her trip to weave some pretty joyful, happy looking tapestries. And then this piece here, this group of pieces are Andean pebble weave done by one of our members who weaves on a backstrap loom. And they're shown here in conjunction with some pine needle basketry. So that was a nice little ensemble of pieces. And then outside that room, we had a few more pieces, a crook broad rug and a random weave basket. So that's my last slide, and I'll stop the screen sharing. And thank you for the opportunity to present that work to you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Those photos were absolutely beautiful. We really appreciate your joining us today and showing us the, how well that exhibit went and how gorgeous it was. So now everyone, please join me in welcoming our next presenter, Danaleah Schoenfuss from Intertwine Arts, who will be discussing disability advocacy and the fiber arts. Danaleah, welcome.
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to share my screen. Oops, it's on the wrong page. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, beautiful. So hello, everybody. My name is Danaleah Schoenfuss. I'm an androgynous person with very short buzzed head, blue glasses. I have a woven top on and some woven earrings as well, with a couple of tapestries in my background. I'm the program director of Intertwine Arts. I am also a teaching artist, a weaver, an educator. I myself am neurodivergent and autistic. And then I have my contact info at the bottom, dana@intertwinearts.org. And I'm here to talk about my organization, what we do, and more. So the mission of Intertwine Arts is to inspire creativity, joy, and self-confidence through freeform weaving for people of all ages with disabilities or chronic illness. Some of the goals of me talking today are to show some tools and tricks that people who have disabilities or illnesses can use in their weaving practices. It's also to give info for teaching artists and studio owners to better support weavers with disabilities. And then I also just want to increase visibility and awareness so that we make a more accessible place, thoughtful place in the arts. So some of the principles of how we go about making things when we offer our workshops to people. One of the big things we always say is there's no such thing as a mistake. And there's multiple ways of looking at this. One of the big things is incidental beauty. So when you make a mistake, you're making something inherently human, inherently creative, and there's such beauty in something that is an accident. And some of the most interesting artworks in the world come from mistakes, right? But something I like to say a lot too is that a mistake is often something a professional artist does on purpose. And by that, I mean, when you're weaving, when you're first teaching weaving, you tell people to go over, under, like over one, under one, right? But let's say they accidentally do over two, under two. Well, they just did a basket weave. That's what a professional artist does on purpose. So when we're teaching people how to weave and they're maybe a little bit nervous, we're saying to them, anything you're doing is something that is probably a professional technique. You just did it by accident. Another thing we like to talk about is that everyone has an inherent sense of beauty, unique sensibilities, and the intrinsic ability to create. We all have creativity in us, and it comes out in a variety of ways. And then the last one that I think is really important to talk about is that we all have the potential to learn from each other and open our minds to a multitude of perspectives. So when we're teaching the audience that we teach, we come in not being the experts. Every person's experience of a disability is unique, and we're not the expert on any individual's support needs. We can offer things to support, but that person can also communicate things that we wouldn't have thought of. And the big example I use for this, I'm actually going to refer to the image at the top. So there's a bunch of weaving tapestries at the top on a variety of different looms. When we first start a workshop, we often start with a cardboard loom. And we came into the Andrew High School Braille and Talking Book Library with a bunch of these cardboard looms. And the audience there has a variety of visual disabilities. And so a bunch of people said, oh, there's not enough contrast between the yarn and the cardboard in our first session. So we came back the following session with like, I think it's black bookboard is what this is. And then we did the warp with a white yarn. And a lot of people were like, oh, that's so much better. Thank you so much. But then there was one person who said, actually, it's too much contrast and it hurts my eyes. So I did this light blue warp for that person. And then there was another person who they were really more towards being blind. So the visual contrast wasn't even a factor. They needed to feel the warp strings. So that's when we brought out this wooden frame loom so that they could get their fingers under the strings better. So everybody's different, everybody's unique, and we just try to be adaptable to what people need. The big tool that we're very known for using is the Saori loom, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's a two-heddle floor loom that's very easy to use. But the other thing that's really great about it is it has a lot of adaptive tools that you can get to accompany it. So we often use a beater bar that we add to the top of the reed so that you can use the beater, don't have to reach as far. Another thing that we use is the shuttle shelf. So this is a wooden shelf that you add on that will hold your boat or shuttle for you so that you don't have to switch it between your hands. This is really great for somebody who maybe has weakness or pain in their hands or doesn't have use of their hands. But it's also really useful for people who have a developmental disability, because having to remember all the steps and then also how to move the shuttle and where you're going to put it when you're doing another step, it can be a lot to handle. And so being able to put the shuttle in it and just push it back and forth helps a lot. And I'll say it's just fun to use. I use it all the time. I don't necessarily need it. So it's also just a really nice tool to have too, if you want to make weaving a little bit easier. And then on the far right, it's hard for me to show the literal tool, but it's called a hand switcher. And Elizabeth is in this video, who uses a wheelchair. And so she can't use the pedals that's on the floor loom. We added the hand switcher in so that she can actually push the heddles up and down by herself. And she's actually demonstrating it right now. So she's pushing on the heddle with her hand to switch the sheds. And that way she can weave independently, which is really cool. We also use a variety of other looms because we don't want to restrict people's creativity. We also don't necessarily have all of the money to buy 10 Saori looms or the space in many places we weave. So I mentioned the cardboard looms where people do really beautiful, wonderful work. We also use a lot of Cricut looms like the one I have in the middle. A lot of people like this because we use the clamps while people are weaving, so it doesn't move around on them. And a lot of the people we work with can weave or warp on it independently of it, so that they can really warp it, weave, take their project off, and be fully independent. And then we also use paper plates is really popular, but we use everything. But I do want to pause here to also point at this Cricut loom here, which is being used in a bit of an alternative way. Many people might get anxious if they saw this on their loom because the warp is pulled very tight in the center, but the person is using the loom in a very unique way. There's not one way to weave, and they've made this very organic structure shape. That's very, very cool. So we really encourage people to play with the art form, sometimes in ways that we wouldn't think of, that would make me nervous, but that also works for them and is their unique way of making. And I also want to talk about all the different tools that come into play just through being creative and adaptive to what's going on, and what someone needs for support. So look around your house, your studio, and I promise you can find something to make anything a little bit more adaptable. For the cardboard looms in a pinch, we'll use a straw or a chopstick or any sort of pen or cylindrical object to lift the warp strings up to give somebody more space. One person said, I think I can weave independently, but I just need a reminder of the steps. And so an example of sort of a tool is this: we wrote down the steps, put it up, and let them have at it. Many people here are probably familiar with a tapestry needle, but let's say someone doesn't have one, can't buy one, keeps losing them, what have you. You can use a paper clip, you can use a bobby pin, you could even make your own shuttle out of cardboard, like the one here, or your own sort of makeshift needle at the bottom. And then in this video, I also want to show that we have a lot of people who like to circle weave, but they may have a hard time holding an embroidery hoop or a plate. And so what we did to kind of make it more vertical so that they didn't have to hold it or maybe have trouble with it on the table is we actually used a clamp from the Cricut loom to hold it up. So there's lots of things that you can do to be creative that can be an adaptive tool without it costing a ton of money. And another example I'll throw in that I will give full credit to Chiaki, who is an amazing weaver. Also, they were working with somebody who wanted to use the bobbin winder, and they actually took a cardboard tube to make the little handle longer and taped it on. So lots of ways that you can make things adaptable. And I think I am getting close to time, aren't I? So going real quick. So we have a lot of weaving workshops where people do a variety of different projects, but all at once at different paces. Everybody creates in different ways, and we involve friends, family, and caregivers. And it's very useful for people. It's therapeutic. It's good for emotional regulation, develops independence, confidence, all these wonderful things. There's a lot of ways that you can support people through allowing them headphones, using iPads, comfort items, and other things. Try to be consistent, but also understand that people do things in different ways. And so try to be adaptable to that. And then also just try to make people more visible. I really encourage, when doing exhibitions, try to look for people who don't necessarily get that representation. Anita is a really wonderful artist that has made this giant quilt and this beautiful tapestry here, and usually doesn't get the chance to exhibit.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so sorry.
And that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
I know,
Danaleah. I'm sorry
over.
sorry to interrupt. That was absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate this presentation, and hearing about all of your great work. So now please join me in welcoming Connie Lippert, who will be presenting on the Mother Tree Commission. Connie, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, let's see. Now I got it. Okay. I just wanted to, before I start, I wanted to say that my association with HGA has been instrumental in any recognition that I've received of my name and work, mainly through exhibition opportunities, and for that I'm very grateful. It's important to support the organizations that support our craft. So back in the summer, I had the great opportunity. The gallery director at Blue Spiral One in Asheville asked me about doing a commission. And so I worked with him. The client was interested, had seen work at the gallery and said what she liked. And I was trying to develop an idea to do for her. They told me from the beginning they wanted it to be 40 inches by 60 inches, which is quite large. And I had only done one other weaving that big. So it was quite a challenge. And I felt like they had faith in me to even ask me to do it. So, but we went back and forth for several weeks about what they liked, what they didn't like. And I finally drew up a sample of what I could do. And they liked that too. But then they sent me pictures of her house and her yard. And that completely changed what I wanted to do, because I saw this picture of her backyard and it was very helpful. I just zoned in on trying to work with this to make my piece. So I made a diagram to represent the weaving. And I knew in the beginning that I wanted this part on the left to be emphasized and to have trees and greenery. And I sent this to them and they were happy with it. So I started ordering the yarns and working on that. And they gave me the go ahead in early September. And this is the same diagram, but this is all my notes that I made on it as I was working. I moved some things around. You can see by these arrows, I wrote down how many ends I use for different accents in the piece. For instance, I used 10 ends for the white that was in the sky. I just took a lot of notes as I was going along to keep me on track of what I was doing. So I weave horizontally, which means, after I've done so much, I wind it around the beam in the front, and I can't see exactly what I've done once it disappears. But the client had asked that I keep her up to date with my progress as I went along. So these are the first 3 wedges that I wove. I'm doing wedge weave. So I took a picture and sent her that, and I'm working through the gallery. So the gallery director did all the communication with her. She communicated with him and he communicated back with me. So I never had direct contact with her, but I would send him pictures and other things. And this is another example. I sent these pictures to show the diagonal that you have in wedge weave, and in addition to those finished wedges. And then after a while, I realized, I'm glad she asked me for those pictures, because I realized I need some representation to be able to see what I'm doing and what I've already done and how it's all working together. So I started printing out pictures of the 3 wedges as I advanced them and taping them together to get an idea of how the whole piece was looking, although I couldn't see it rolled under the loom. And I also sent her these images too, as I added each 3 wedges. I would take a picture, add it, and send it to her along with the actual picture of the weaving that had been done. So in the end, this is what I had. This is the entire piece as I pieced it together as I went along working on it. And this was very helpful. And I just had it hanging up in my studio to keep me on track. So I knew, like I said in the beginning, I wanted this part emphasized, but I didn't have a title for the work. And then I was out for a walk one day, and I remembered the book that I had read about that was based on research, and the author was Suzanne Simard. And she's a professor of forest ecology at the University of British Columbia, and the author of the book, Finding the Mother Tree. And in this book, she chronicles her discovery of the interconnectedness of trees in the forest ecosystem, where a single mother tree can send out resources to other trees in the area through underground fungal connections. So when I was walking and I thought about that, I thought, well, that's the perfect name for this piece. So I submitted, I didn't even know if they wanted me to give it a name or whatever, but I sent the gallery director what I've written on this image or this slide. And he forwarded it to her and told me later that she really loved that and had him print it out for her. So that was a wonderful experience. And then just recently I was in the gallery and he gave me these pictures that he took of the piece installed at her house. And I started, like I said, in September, and I delivered it to him in January. So it was a feverish several months of working on this piece to get it done in that amount of time. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Connie. Oh my gosh, just a beautiful piece and such a good story. I actually love that book, so that is so cool to hear that that was passed along to her. Now, alrighty, Liz, would you like to jump in with a donation update?
I am not going to jump in with the donation update just yet, but I am going to mention we do have a few challenges. So Kathy Group, our lovely host of textiles and tea, has donated. And she has also put a challenge out there. She's saying if you are a 4-harness loom owner, especially if you own a Dorset loom, to donate. She's challenging all of you 4-harness loom owners to donate to HGA today. And Kathy's going to be one of our presenters later today. So excited to have her give and continue to support HGA even after she has retired from our organization. I guess you never leave, do you? So that's where we are. We'll give another donation update though in about 25 minutes. And again, if anyone would like to give, you can donate by calling us at 678-730-0010, or you can donate online at weavespindye.org. Just look for the Fiber-A-Thon link and I'll share that with you here. And again, you can give us a call, donate online, encourage others to donate, encourage others to watch. Remember, this is going to be recorded. So if you miss a presentation, you can always check back. If you want to mail in a donation, we'll take your checks too. Feel free to donate by mail. And here's where we are with all of our donation challenges. So as a reminder, Patricia Martin shared 5 tips and encourage you to donate $1 for each tip she shared. So if you can just give $5, that helps. There's about 100 of you watching live with us. If each of you gave $5, that's $500 right there. That would help us get us to our next 1,000. Macedo's Mini Acres is if you donate today, you'll receive a coupon code to save 10% on your next order. And that coupon code is good until April 30th. And like I mentioned, Kathy Group's challenge. So there we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am amazed at how fast you put together that slide. So I will say, since we have a minute here until we are welcoming our next presenter, because we're talking about Kathy, I want to remind everyone that not only will this event be on our YouTube page soon, but also our YouTube has a absolute giant catalog of videos on it, including every single episode of Textiles and Tea. So that's over 200 episodes going back a couple of years, which is just amazing. So if you love Kathy, and, you know, you can't get enough Textiles and Tea like the rest of us, I highly encourage you to check out our YouTube page. As Liz said, Kathy will be joining us later tonight at 11:30 some, and excuse me, and will be talking about her time doing Textiles and Tea. Alrighty. Now, please join me in welcoming Lorraine Hanson, who has my dream job. She raises Angora rabbits, and she will be presenting on raising them and using their wool. Lorraine, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, although it looks like your
Okay.
camera is not on.
Yep, here we go. I tried to turn it on early and I got my hand slapped, so. My husband Peter is in the background here. We're in the rabbit hut. You can see the water bottles on either side. So we're going to do this together. Thank you so much for having us here to give us an opportunity to talk about what we do. I'm going to try to, all right, share. Where's the share? Up there it is. I'm going to bring up just a short PowerPoint and talk to you a little bit about what we do. A lot of people think we're crazy, and one of the questions we get is, why do you do this? So I'm going to show you some pictures, which hopefully will explain why we do this. Okay, so again, thank you so much. It means a lot for us to be able to share what we do, because we're pretty proud of what we do. And we're so pleased to have such a wonderful organization like HGA there for us and trying to get the next generation of fiber artists. And that's something that Pete and I talk about a lot, is that we need to get the younger generation into this field. And, you know, we've kind of started doing that on a small scale. Pete started teaching some summer camps and some homeschool classes on cardboard weaving looms. So we have a couple of those events coming up, and it's really nice to see the children, you know, some of them take to it really well. Others, they make something very creative. One little boy at one of the camps he was at, they tried to help him. He was going every which way but the way we think it's supposed to be. And he just looked up at one point. He was using black and red, and he said, "It's hot lava." And that was just wonderful. So we are the Fuzzy Ear. We've been raising Angora rabbits and other rabbits now since 2013, or as Pete likes to say, we've been exposing our buns to the public since 2013.
Do they see the screen?
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Don't question me. Okay, so what we do is we do have a number of Angora rabbits. Like I said, we've gotten into many different rabbits, but with our Angora rabbits, we collect their wool when it's time. And this is cocoa bean right here. And I have Lowe's buckets, and every time we harvest their wool, it goes into the Lowe's bucket. And then I know I have enough cocoa bean to send to the mill with a fine sheep wool or whatever else I want to mix in there. I just kind of like to play. Sometimes it will be alpaca, mohair, silk, Angora, but always I start with a fine wool base. So this is actually cocoa beans yarn. And it's really been good for us, because the people that come to see our yarn really like the fact that, oh, it's cocoa bean. So we have fun with that.
And I can see the rabbit.
And yeah, and most of the time we can take the rabbit with us. This is Freya. Unfortunately, Freya has passed, but we do have her yarn. Freya was an English Angora rabbit. And Matthias is still with us, but he's a little bit of an old man, so we try not to stress him too much. We're very aware of what we're doing with our rabbits when we take them out. You know, like I said, if they're too old, or if we go out there in the morning and they don't want to go, we don't take them, because, you know, they talk to us, they tell us. This is just one of the yarns that we have made. It's Corriedale sheep, alpaca, and silk. Oh, it's lovely. And this is Poe. You'll see Poe on camera in just a little bit, because we are going to pull some rabbits out of the cages, not out of a hat, but out of the cages, and let you see them. And this is just another Corriedale and mohair, which is a very nice blend too. Just a little bit about the two of us. This is kind of like a side job, a side gig for us. Our full-time jobs, we work for others during the week. I'm a nurse and Pete is a mechanic. But with the rest of our time, it's rabbits, fiber, and foster kittens. We have 6 foster kittens in the house right now, bottle fed, which is fun. Just a little bit, the yarn that you just saw, I just want to say that we are fortunate now to have a spinning mill about an hour away from us. So we bring all of our Angora and fine sheep wools to Lancaster Creek Spinnery, and she makes our gorgeous yarn. Anybody out there that ever worked with Gertie Run, we're in Pennsylvania, they are now Lancaster Creek Spinnery, and we have the benefit of having them just an hour away from us, which is just so wonderful. Okay, so, oops, I just went too fast, but we accidentally fell into therapy a couple of years after we started doing this. We had a friend in the nursing home who hadn't met our rabbits yet, and I kind of snuck one in a boat bag, walked into her room, closed the door, looked at her. She knew exactly what I had in my bag. And Pete and I talked about it, and it's like, well, this is great. So we go to nursing homes, and this is a nursing home, of course, because of privacy. We cannot take pictures of faces, but we can take pictures of hands. So this is Darla. She's one of our American Fuzzy Lops, sitting in a gentleman's lap. And, you know, they smile, they react. We hear so many wonderful things that, you know, I've never seen him smile, or, you know, I've never seen her do that. There's something that affects these people, and they may not be able to talk, but you can tell by their expressions. There's another one. That is Raven, and it's funny because we find it's the gentlemen that don't want to give the bunnies back. So I know, kind of off, but this is Bon Bon. She was one of our absolute best woolers, an English Angora rabbit, and that's her in full coat. And here's Claude. Claude is one of our #1 therapy rabbits. Everybody loves him. Those that follow us always want to know when we're out, where's Claude? Where's Claude?
You can't tell by the picture, but he's a 15-pound rabbit.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
He's the largest rabbit we have. And then just so, you know, give you a smile, we do take the bunnies to see Santa Claus. And there's Poe. That's Sidecar Santa out in Colonial Williamsburg. And we go to William and Mary. One of the other places that we do therapy is we go to William and Mary during exam week. We go twice a year, in the spring and in the fall, and you can see the crowd of students, and they're so engaged with the rabbits. And because they're such a mature group, we do let them hold the rabbits, and you know, and they're just so interested, and they ask such wonderful questions.
We do meet quite a few there that are very interested in fiber arts, and we get into talking about spinning, knitting,
Right.
weaving, which is cool too, because
Yeah.
sparking an interest.
There's Claude, hard at work, being a therapy rabbit. We set up a little backdrop last year so people could take pictures. So just to see the smiles and the genuine delight on their faces is just, that's why we do it. I mean, look at that. There's your extreme happiness. Absolute extreme happiness. Okay. So, help me. So I'm going to show you a quick 2-minute video. Is that a bunny?
We are not seeing your video, Lorraine.
Oh,
We are still seeing your PowerPoint screen. You may have to close that out so that we can see your other window.
We're doing.
I'm sorry. Did I
We're
mess
not
something up?
We're not seeing your video.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You'll need to do a new share.
All right, all right. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Now I can't find the screen. Oh, here it is. It's not opening.
Look at that cute rabbit.
I know.
All right, well,
It's a good thing
Yeah.
that I've been on mute for most of this because all I've been doing is saying, oh, over here. If you
okay.
try to exit out of PowerPoint, does that help, Lorraine?
Let's do that. There we go. Your screen share
Alright.
is stopped. Now I can restart it.
Okay. How much time do we have left? Should I just do the bunnies?
You
Yeah,
have
about
about 1 minute.
1 minute?
Mhm.
Uh-oh. Well, bunnies
Oh,
then.
this is Poe. He wants to act up when we get him on picture. You want to grab him?
So it's a French and German Angora. Here, Cocoa Bean. And then we have Cocoa Bean. You saw a picture of Cocoa Bean. Cocoa Bean says, "Why did you just wake me up?" But there he is. He is a full-blooded German Angora.
This is Claude, who's not a fiber rabbit. He's a French lop. He's 15 pounds, but he's a big teddy bear. And one of Claude's things is he doesn't mind being held like a baby. Usually rabbits don't like being upside down, but Claude just goes immediately to sleep. So we go to nursing homes and we can put him in people's laps, and we've literally put him in people's beds next to him, and he'll just lay there and go to sleep, and people just love that.
That is absolutely fabulous.
And this is our old man. I told you he's getting older. So this is Matthias. We kind of keep him in a little bit, we keep him a little bit of shorter coat to make it easier for them to take care of themselves. So, but he was born in 2017. So,
Wow. Amazing. Wow, it has been such a pleasure, Lorraine, and thank you so much for this presentation, for all the introductions. We are wondering if you have a link to the video that you could share.
yes, it's on our webpage. It's thefuzzyear.com. And if you click on the link Wander with Us,
Okay.
you'll be able to see the video. It's basically free street therapy. It's pretty entertaining because he stops it, when people say pertinent things like "you've made my day" or "you've changed my life," or, when the children laugh and whatnot. It warms your heart.
That is absolutely lovely. Thank you both so much for your time today. All right, we will have to move right along to keep ourselves on schedule. So now we would like to bring in our final presenter for this hour, Thomas Victor, who is going to present on why de-hairing matters when spinning and working with alpaca and similar fibers. Thomas, welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if my camera is on. It says, I'll start my video. Okay. Okay, there we
We
are.
can see you, perfect.
Me too, at this point, yes. So first of all, thank you for having me here. I am a new member, and I've only heard bits and pieces of the presentations today, but wow, what a collection of artists. And it's just amazing. I hope to learn and hopefully share some in the future as well, besides this. So, alpaca fiber. I have a love for, I'm a fiber snob, so alpaca fiber fits in to my taste. And some people say alpaca is absolutely wonderful, and other people say it's crap, it's itchy, and I'd say both are true, or can be true. The problem is alpaca fiber has guard hairs, and as a fetus in the womb, the first hairs that start growing are called primaries. They are the guard hairs. They are straight. And then there are some that have a little bit of crimp or curve to them. They also refer to as primaries. And then closer to birth and after birth, the secondaries grow in. And the secondary, those are the soft fibers that we love and treasure. So if we go back a little bit, just alpaca in itself, the range you've probably heard baby alpaca, royal alpaca, adult alpaca, fine alpaca. Those are just words, and baby alpaca can be, for one brand, the same fiber, and another brand would call it royal. So I prefer talking about microns. And a human hair is around 70 microns and up, and cashmere is about 19 microns and down. So if we stick to 16 or 32 microns of alpaca, you can find us 12, 13 micron and to the upper 30s, but for easy math, we're sticking with 16 and 22 as fine and coarse. So if you say that 16 is half of 32, you think it is, say here, when you see it as a picture, as a crosscut, you realize that it is not half in volume. So the low micron will have much more pliability than the coarser one, but the finer one cannot take a lot of abrasion. So if you want to make something that is sturdier, you definitely want to go with a coarser alpaca yarn or fiber fleece. I have neighbors playing very loud music. I'm getting a little distracted. So there you have the pliability between the coarser and finer. And when it comes to guard hairs and primary hairs, they have air pockets making them stiff. Guard hairs stick out because they are straight. Neither one of them take dye very easily. And what else? Yeah. So when you spin up a yarn or you have a yarn, buying a yarn, you see the guard hairs and the primaries sticking out of the yarn. And depending the angle when you shear the animal, going back to my drawings here, it might have been cut on a very 90-degree angle or a little bit more of a steep angle. So when a hair or fiber is not bending and you have a little bit point of it, it's going to prickle you. And that's mainly why some people find alpaca being prickly and not comfortable at all, because they're animals that don't have a lot of guard hairs, or in the processing, the guard hairs are processed out just like with cashmere. I'm realizing I'm speaking faster than I thought. So where to go? In our fingertips, we're very sensitive, just like our skin and our neck. And when there's a big difference between the micron counts, we can feel it as not being as soft. If it's very uniform, it doesn't matter whether you would have a 32 micron or 16 micron. As long as it's uniform, your skin will perceive it as soft. But when you mix them, there are small ridges between the difference. So if your fingers would feel on a yarn that has very uniform versus where it's mixed, you will probably understand the difference. And if you then mix in a guard hair and that is extra stiff and poking out compared to all the soft and pliable fibers, you will understand why alpaca can be absolutely wonderful or not so good. And if you buy fleece and it has a lot of guard hairs and primaries, if you're going to make outerwear, it might not matter very much. But if you want to make something that is next to skin, know that the surface of alpaca fibers, even when it gets coarser, it's a smooth surface. You might not have a lot of loft, but if you get a uniform, the surface will have it like the silky surface smoothness to it. And I was nervous. I spoke a little too fast.
Oh, this was great.
So just trying if there was something else. Well, it also comes down to if you blend fibers, when you're looking at the micron and you have a luxury fiber, but you don't have a lot of it, and you want to stretch it out so you can get more yarn, what you blend it with matters. Because you will take a cheaper fiber, are you going to make the cheaper fiber more likable, or are you going to coarse them down and lose some of the quality of the nice fibers? There are times when you do want to do it because if it's really, really fine, it doesn't have as much durability, and you might want to blend it with something that will give it a little bit more body, and also a lot of fine fibers. They may lack a little bit of memory. So, and a very fine merino wool to give it both body and durability and memory is good. But it also always is a good question to ask, why are you blending those particular fibers you want to blend? Which one are you losing out on, and which one are you enhancing? So I think that was it for today.
That is fascinating. We do have a question for you
Yep.
from Wendy. How do you find the micron number in alpaca wool?
Farmers, or certain farmers, they test their fiber every year, or every time they shear, to keep track of how the animals perform, so they know which animals to breed, to focus in on a certain band of microns. Some people don't like the really fine, others, like me, I would navigate to the finer ones. But no matter which micron you have, there's a use for it, for sure.
And why do you prefer finer micron?
Well, as I said, I'm a fiber snob, and anything next to skin, soft, yes. I grew up in Sweden when it was cold over there, and I hated the winters so bad. I was always freezing, so I went for any luxury fiber that kept me warm. And also, we're putting so much labor into our crafts. So if you're spinning a yarn, then you're going to weave or knit something out of it, the number of hours you put into it and you hope it's going to last a long time, I would prefer a really good fiber. This is my personal view. I'd rather spend a little bit extra on the fiber to have a really high quality garment or product at the end. Because I don't work very fast, especially if you spin your yarn. It takes a time. And I also like to spin fairly fine. This is my
Oh my goodness.
this is
That
a
is
2-ply
amazing.
alpaca. Mixing them up here. So there against my forehead, you can see it.
Yeah,
So,
just barely. That is amazing.
so that's the type of yarns I like to spin, and it takes forever, of course. And just the processing of making sure you get as much as possible out of the guard hairs before you start spinning, because you're still going to miss a few and stand there picking them out as you spin. But I think it's worth it. The end product, it's such a difference without the guard hair, for sure.
Thank you so much, Thomas. This was wonderful. And I will pass along a message from the comments that said your illustrations are absolutely fantastic. Very, very helpful in visualizing the interaction of the fibers. So thank you so much. This was great.
Thank
And
you.
sadly, my hosting hour here is up. It has been a pleasure to spend the hour with you and hear from all of our great presenters. Thank you so much to each and every one of them. And now I will hand it back to Liz.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks for giving me a break. And Thomas, it looks like we have another question for you there in the chat. So if you can take a look at that and answer that, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Can I
it is
finish?
5 o'clock. Yes, Thomas.
So are alpaca fibers more resilient against pests than sheep wools? Are they talking about like moths and stuff, or?
I would assume so. Yes, moths.
No, you can find moths in alpaca fiber as well, unfortunately. I've seen it. And you can get lice and other things on the animals. So I think it might be more about where you're situated and if there's a pest pressure where the farm is or where you live after the wool has been cut off.
Thanks for answering that question. We're going to get back here on schedule and give an update of where we are with our donations. So for all of you who have been following along, this is our hourly update. And thank you. First of all, thank you to everybody who has given so far. Your generosity is so amazing. We couldn't do this without you. So let's take a look. Here we are to our campaign.